Lesson 17, Probabilities of Compound Events. So the first thing I want to talk about is, well, what is a compound probability? What's a compound event? So a compound event is an event made up of two or more simple events. So pretty much what that means is that you're doing two or more events at one time. And when I say events, that could be something like rolling a dice and picking a marble out of a bag, like I have here. So these two examples I have is rolling a dice and picking a card from a deck. So those are two separate things that we're doing, but we're taking both into account. You could spin a spinner and pick a marble out of a bag. Okay, pretty much what that means is whenever you have compound probability, it means you will have two or more outcomes. Okay, that means I'm going to be looking at, is my coin landing on heads or tails? And is the card I'm picking a red card or a black card? Okay. So the difference between and or. So there's a huge difference here when you're asked a probability question with and versus or in your question. When you are asked a probability question with and, you are multiplying your probabilities. Okay, and when you are asked a question with or, that means you are going to be adding your probabilities. Now we're going to do a few examples like this, so you'll see what I mean in just a second. So here we have which answer correctly describes how to find the probability of the following compound event. We have rolling a die that lands on an even number 2, 4, or 6. Okay, so I'm rolling this die 3 times, and here's that word or. Okay, so remember, or means that we are going to add, and I have 3 separate numbers, right? I have a 2, a 4, and a 6, which means I'm going to be adding 3 probabilities together. I'm going to be adding the probability of rolling a 2 plus rolling a 4 plus rolling a 6. Alright, so here's another example. An experiment involves rolling a die and drawing a card from a standard deck. What is the probability that the die lands on a 7 and that the card is a heart? Okay, so here's that word and, which means that we are going to be multiplying here. Okay, now I'm looking at a dice and my deck of cards. Okay, for my dice, I want it to land on a 7. Well, that's impossible, right? I have a 0 out of 6 chance of it landing on a 7 because my die is numbered 1 through 6. However, for my deck of cards, if I were to pick out a heart is 1/4 of my deck, right? That is 13 out of 52 total cards, or 1/4. So here are my two probabilities. I have this 0 over 6 and 1 over 4. So when I multiply them together, I get 0 over 24. Okay. So how many possible outcomes are there for rolling 3 dice? Oh, you know what? Hold on. I made a typo on this question. So sorry. Instead of a 4, that is supposed to say, instead of a 7, that's supposed to say a 4. So give me 1 second to fix that. 4. So now there's only one number 4, right? I have 1 4, so I have a 1 out of 6 chance of rolling a 4. So sorry. This makes much more sense now. So here are still my two probabilities. So when you multiply straight across the top, I get 1 over 24. Okay. How many possible outcomes are there for rolling 3 dice? These problems I enjoy. I think they're fun. So I have these 3 dice that I'm rolling. Right, here's 1, 2, and 3 dice. Each one of them has 6 possible outcomes. Right, I have 6 sides on this one die, 6 sides on this second, and 6 sides on this third. So to figure out how many possible outcomes, I just multiply all 3 of those numbers together. So I have 6 times 6 times 6, which gives me 216, which means that there are 216 possible outcomes for me rolling that dice, which is insane. Alrighty, which answer correctly describes the probability of rolling a die that lands on a number less than 7 and drawing a card that is red or black? So our answer choices here are a little bit different. I want to know how likely it is. So if I'm rolling a die that lands on a number that is less than 7, well, that's all of them, isn't it? Because I could roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Those are all the numbers on my dice, and those are all less than 7. So that's a 100% chance. Now, the second probability that I have is going to be drawing a card that is red or black. Well, in a deck of cards, all I have are red or black cards. So again, for picking a card out of a deck, that is also a 100% chance of it happening, which means that the chances of both of those things happening is certain, because I have a 100% chance of both of those events happening. Next question says, which answer correctly describes the probability of drawing a card that is black and a diamond and flipping a coin that lands on heads? Okay, so the first one let's talk about is drawing a card that is black and diamond. This is where your knowledge of cards comes in handy. If I draw a black card, black suits are either going to be spades or clubs. Okay, a diamond is a red card, which means it can't be a black card and be a diamond at the same time, because that's impossible. There are no black diamonds. There are red diamonds, but there's no black diamonds, which means that this is going to have a 0% chance of happening. That's impossible. I can't pull a card that is both of those things. And since this problem uses this word and, okay, that means that both of these events have to happen. It means I need to draw a card that is black and a diamond, and I need to also flip a coin and it land on heads. Now, even though that flipping a coin and it landing on heads is a 50-50 chance, or 1/2, that doesn't matter because that first event is impossible. I cannot do it. So because of that, both of these events are going to be impossible. There's no way I'm going to be able to do both of them. Alright, and that was it. Super quick video. If you would like some extra help, please let me know. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of your day.